Split screen was practically a gaming institution in the 2000s to the 2010s, but with the advent of the 8th generation of consoles, it's been all but lost as a feature. Despite not being a console gamer, I am very fond of split screen. There's just something different about being able to sit next to whoever you're playing with and share a screen.
There was a period of time where we had just moved into a new house. Without internet, we busted out an old hand-me-down Xbox 360 and borrowed the entire Halo franchise from a friend. Being able to play games physically next to my brother has been a great bonding experience for us. Games like Little Big Planet and Resistance 3 were formative experiences for me when I was young. Without split-screen features in these games and more, I doubt I would have been able to access these experiences until much later in life.
Nowadays, our jolly cooperation takes place mostly over the internet, as we have both pivoted towards primarily PC gaming. But had we not played stuff like Halo and Split Screen, I doubt our love for sharing co-op experiences would be as strong as it is today. My interest in Split Screen has led me to pick up dozens of PC games that allow for couch co-op. This is how I ended up rediscovering childhood games like Helldivers and Castle Crashers. But through it all, there's only ever one series of co-op shooters that ever eluded me. A trilogy containing some of the most compelling, interesting, and downright thrilling co-op mechanics I've ever experienced. A trilogy that felt out of reach for so long that I had all but forgotten about it. Until today, that is.
There's a message in a bottle with my name on it, drowned in a glimmering sea. Pretty white lies in a pitch black room. The sum of my parts is nothing, 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 nothing. What is happening to me, happening to me, happening to me, happening to me? Mama, can't you see what's happening to me, happening to me? Mama, can't you see? Just play.
This video initially started as an attempt to play the two Army of Two games that we had never really experienced, only having ever owned the second game in the series. Eventually, after dissatisfaction with attempts to emulate the games, I came up with an idea. What if we made a retrospective type video about the franchise? So, a week and $50 later, we had the two games we lacked, thanks to a random GameStop in Texas, as well as a cheap capture card so we could record the footage. So, Army of Two was released in 2008 to pretty mixed reviews, mostly due to the fact that Gears of War had come out 2 years earlier, and its sequel was about to drop very soon after Army of Two hit shelves.
At its very core, Army of Two is Gears of War, much like most cover shooters. However, Army of Two manages to make up for its derivative gameplay with several mechanics that are far more compelling than anything Gears had to offer us.
Army of Two's first two levels are effectively tutorials, with the first real mission itself being effectively a microcosm of the whole game. You start the mission, shoot a bunch of bad guys, do a scripted sequence, and then fight a boss. This is pretty much how every level plays out, and is pretty representative of the overarching plot. Speaking of plot, while I'm not going to summarize any of these games, I will try to bring it up when relevant, since the character-driven narrative present in these games is half the appeal to us. Salem and Rios are our protagonists for most of the game, and they're introduced to us during a training mission as US Army Rangers. This mission is treated like a warm-up for the characters, but for us it's just the tutorial.
The mission directly afterwards is practically the second half of the tutorial, being very straightforward and allowing the player to ease into the mechanics. It's comparatively short, only taking about 20 minutes to complete as opposed to the 40 minutes to an hour standard that most missions in these games take. After extracting, Richard Dalton, the commanding officer for the pair, is lured to PMC Group SCC with the promise of more money by Clyde, this absolute snake of a man. He's important, so remember him.
You boys are unstoppable down
Yes,
there.
actually.
Like an army of two.
Look at He said the thing! Dalton hires Salem and Rios as contractors, and during this time skip is where they finally get their iconic ballistic masks. During the tutorial and Somalia levels, they were just kind of wearing some anti-shrapnel masks, but here both masks are actually unique to their character designs.
These character designs are so fantastic that I struggle to put it into words. 40th Day would let Rios bulk up a little bit and gain a few inches on Salem, but even in Army of Two, Rios and Salem stand out from each other, not just physically, but also mentally. More on that later.
Army of Two takes some clear inspiration from Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Army of Two is set like right after 9/11. Yes, like the actual 9/11 attacks. 9/11!
Oh god!
Oh shit, is this game's whole? It is, it literally is, look, it's the Twin Towers in the background! Literally 9/11! And thus, the first few levels end up putting you up against generic terrorists before the conspiracy plot fully unfurls.
They also have you attacking a chemical weapons facility in Afghanistan that the terrorists are running. I don't know, it's problematic, but overall, mostly a product of its time.
Okay, so basic gameplay stuff. Obviously this is a cover shooter, so it has a cover system. And personally, I don't think I've ever played a game with a better cover system. I'm really not a fan of the Gears style where you press a button and you lock on. It just ends up feeling kind of restrictive.
Army of Two, on the other hand, has an incredibly soft cover system. In fact, it's almost too soft. It's a bit hard to tell when you're in cover, but once your character leans up and stops taking as much damage, that means you're probably good.
One of my favorite details regarding the cover system is actually the dynamic animations of the blind fire mechanic. When you blind fire, you'll obviously stick your gun above the cover, but the higher or lower the target is relative to you, the more you expose your limbs to hit said target. It's really neat to see, and it just kind of feels like there was a little bit more effort put in there.
The thing that really sets Army of Two apart from its competition is how it's designed from the ground up as a co-op experience. Despite the fact that most games with cover systems support co-op play, Army of Two is literally designed around the concept. It's kind of in the name. For example, progress gates are no stranger to co-op games, those rolling shutter type doors that block the way forward, but Army of Two does something very unique. Army of Two introduces high walls that tend to block progress to the next area in each of these games. Either player can initiate a step jump, which allows the second player to peek up and shoot at any enemies that might be up there. Once it's confirmed to be clear, the second player is boosted up and can initiate a pull-up to bring the first player into the next area.
Shields can be grabbed from the environment, such as ripping doors off cars or just picked up from enemies, and allow you to become mobile cover for your teammate. If they lock onto you, they can still shoot over you while you move up, which is pretty good for flanking and pressuring enemies to move.
While we didn't use this mechanic often since the shield bearer doesn't have any ability to fight back, When we did use it, it was very much a strategic decision. The ability to use your environment to benefit not just you, but also your teammate is also something that feels so natural for this game.
Moving on, Back to Back is a scripted section in just about every level where you become surrounded and have to fight off waves of enemies to continue. They're really easy for the most part, since time slows and you get plenty of time to react to each new enemy showing up on whatever flank you're covering. Despite that though, it's really fucking cool as a set piece in a co-op experience. And last, but certainly not least, the most interesting mechanic Army of Two has to offer is aggro. Put simply, aggro determines where the enemy will direct their attention. So long as you are visible and actively shooting, you will draw aggro. The moment you stop shooting, for example to reload, that aggro swings over to your partner momentarily. You can draw aggro more efficiently and faster if you have bigger guns that are unsuppressed. This, combined with the pretty unforgiving difficulty, actually leads to gameplay in these games feeling quite tactical. The game also features an on-screen aggro meter, which makes managing it between the two of you significantly easier. If one player remains at maximum aggro for long enough, you get the ability to activate Overkill, which just kicks the mechanic into overdrive. When activated, whoever was the high aggro player is forced to stand and continues to draw all the aggro and gains increased weapon damage. Their partner, however, becomes fully invisible. Not functionally invisible like outside of Overkill, actually fully invisible. During Overkill, the low aggro player straight up cannot be targeted by enemies, even if the high aggro player is out of sight. This mechanic is just as likely to turn the tables in your favor as it is to get you killed. It requires both players pulling their respective weight to pull off well. Between the enemies dealing high damage, going down being very punishing, and aggro, you end up with a really fun, tactical cover shooter that's in a league completely of its own. This leads us to the store. Each time you hit a checkpoint, the game will stop and ask if you want to go shopping. It's kind of a pain in the ass to navigate since each shop requires its own loading screen, and each player has to enter their own shop interfaces. But after you get over that, it's pretty great.
While the selection is really limited, enemies generally aren't too difficult to kill, so while bigger guns might have better stats, you could beat the game with the starter guns just fine. Not to mention each gun has a handful of customizable parts which modify various aspects of each gun, including suppressors which lets you draw less aggro. You can see where this freedom to customize opens things up. As my sibling played Rios, they decided to build their primary weapons to draw as much aggro as possible while I did the opposite for the most part. It let us coordinate a bit and gain ground on some of the harder levels.
Yes, I would like to access mid-mission shopping.
I have so much more money. It's so funny.
It's cause Salem be playing Peggle. It's around level 3 where Rios begins to spin up some conspiracy theories, and over the next level and a half, Salem starts to give him shit almost constantly about it.
How did we get ambushed before? We're uncoded freaks. Only ones who knew our location was SSC and Army HQ. Don't know, don't care. We hear about these ambushes every day on the news. I think someone's telling them where our troops are. You and your conspiracy theories. You're a real piece of work, Tice.
I talked to Section 8 and he thinks someone is leaking U.S. troop positions to our enemies.
You gotta chill on the conspiracy theories, man.
Well, he thinks it's coming from inside SSC.
Must be the Illuminati.
After this level, the pair are hired alongside Clyde to assault an aircraft carrier taken over by terrorists, and after clearing the deck, they have to go below in order to find their way to the bridge. On the way, they find out that Clyde has been feeding information to the terrorists.
Hey, what are you guys doing? Who's that guy?
Both of you are fucking dead.
What the hell was Clyde doing? He was helping the enemy, that's what he was doing.
I told you to mind your own fucking business.
The pair finish clearing out the ship, blow it up, and escape on an emergency raft, trying to figure out what to do next.
Meanwhile, they head to Korea to help out one of the arms dealers, and in the process accidentally reactivate their radio where their handler, Alice Murray, finally gets in contact. She offers them one more contract and they decide to take it since Salem is flat broke. The contract is the assassination of the mastermind behind the aircraft carrier attack. But once the bridge goes down, it turns out that they've been set up. Clyde and Dalton and SCC set the duo up to kill a US senator who was opposing a bill to privatize the military, of which said bill was being heavily lobbied by SCC. Turns out Clyde was feeding US troop movements to terrorists to make contractors like SCC look better in comparison since they were taking less casualties.
Reported as murderers, the pair are now being chased by the entirety of the Chinese military. And it's because of these extenuating circumstances that we get one of my favorite character moments in the game during this mission.
Hey, Tice. Who do you think's the best rapper in the Wu-Tang Clan?
Elliot, we just got set up to kill a U.S. senator. Our careers are over, and we're in a life-and-death situation. Why are you asking me this shit right now?
A lot of people say it's the RZA, but I kinda like Ghostface Killer. Actually, I don't think I ever heard the You Got album. Did you hear that?
Will you shut up with this stupid bullshit and let me think?
Chill, man. I get it. We're both under a lot of pressure. You cope your way, I talk Wu-Tang.
If you don't shut the hell up, you'll get to cope with my foot on your head.
Salem and Rios' characterization is fantastic throughout the whole game. Their banter was constantly making us laugh, and the voice actors nailed the performances. I really can't think of any other character duos in gaming that are as charming as these two characters, which I think makes them my favorite co-op duo of all time.
Looks like we found Ali Youssef's base.
What gives you that idea? All the guards and weapons, the tower, or are you just a fucking psychic?
You can call him a
During this level, Alice is revealed to have no knowledge of the conspiracy, confirming Salem's claim that they could trust her. But before the level is even halfway over, Alice is kidnapped by SEC mercs for helping Salem and Rios find an escape from the Chinese military.
Once the duo do escape, the same weapons dealer that the duo helped out allows them to borrow transport in the form of a plane. But unfortunately, Clyde snuck on board, kills the pilot, and blows up half the plane as it's entering Florida airspace.
This whole cutscene is so utterly insane, but it fucking rocks.
Alpha Starling to Homestead. No response.
He's the woker, He's baby! The woker!
Copy.
He didn't just shit. What an idiot.
Alright, she's going down. Let's go. Roger that.
Let's get out of here. Open, damn it. Open!
Salem and Rios land near the airport Alice is being held at and have to fight their way to her. This level is by far my favorite in the entire game. Airports are way up there when it comes to the coolest gunfight locations of all time, and Army of Two does not disappoint. This section has some brutal open spaces, and they throw so many mercs at you that it's a genuine difficulty spike, and I love it. They just keep pushing up on you, and you have nowhere to fall back to. It's so much fun.
Once Alice is rescued, the pair head to SEC HQ to find evidence of their innocence and get revenge on Dalton. You have to do some vehicle section shit to get a train working, which is an interesting change of pace for what's normally pretty linear level design. But once you get to the base of the tower, shit gets real. There's hardly any cover between the front of the building and the lobby, which means this is by far the most tactical arena of the game, with hundreds of enemies, dozens of them being smarter, heavily armored, or just incredibly aggressive. Combined with the very sparse cover, it's just so much fun.
This is actually where we began to use the final unique mechanic Army of Two offers: feign death. At any point, if you are low on HP, instead of dying and going down, you can press a button to fake your death, and regenerate your health at a slower rate while your partner keeps fighting. Once you stand up, however, feign death will no longer work for the rest of the current combat encounter.
Feigning death is really good for drawing the enemy off you, since once you go into the downed state, it's way easier for them to finish you off. So sometimes faking death is more viable than trying to tank the damage and find cover.
I can't believe all these years we never really knew who Dalton was.
You know, you gave me all this shit about conspiracy theories, but it looks like I was right on.
Okay, you were right. Is that what you want? Want to say I told you so? Go ahead.
I told you so.
There, you said it. How does that feel?
Good.
Fighting up the tower, the duo gets the evidence, has a boss fight with Clyde, who, by the way, didn't die in the crash, and they blow Dalton the fuck up.
I'm gonna tear you up so bad, your own mama ain't gonna recognize you.
Yo! Leave my mama out of this!
I'm gonna kill you both, slice you open, and go to an aerobics class wherein your intestines smell like walrus.
I mean, does that even make sense?
Want a piece of this? Come and get it.
I'd like to see him come back from that. Ralph, there's no way. He's dead. Shit, he's getting away!
I'm sorry it had to come to this. I like working with you both. But this is what happens when you try to take the law into your own hands.
Survey says you're dead. Come on, let's get out of here.
With the conspiracy revealed and the evil PMC thwarted, Salem and Rios form a new company called TWO.
This ending got me thinking about the themes this game offers up. The first half of the game says that the military sucks and that being a soldier of fortune is awesome. And then the second half seems to present that, hey, maybe PMCs are terrible and awful as well. Is Army of Two anti-war media? Private military companies end up being the antagonists of a lot of military shooters. They end up being one of the easiest targets for devs, right up there next to North Korea, Russia, or generic terrorist organizations. Now, none of these villains are perfect, and sometimes they end up being very contrived, but the only reason that they still end up being used today is that, well, one, it's easy, especially when geopolitics don't shift that much. But more importantly, two, because Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2 set the precedent. Modern Warfare 2 was not the first game to do it. In fact, Army of Two and Metal Gear Solid 4 both came out a year earlier and also had private militaries as their main antagonist. But just about every evil PMC from the 2000s has the same origin point. Chances are, if a game was being developed during the 2000s and it has a PMC as an antagonist, it's because it was actively being developed during the prosecution of Blackwater for their crimes during the Battle of Fallujah. Now, this was a landmark case and changed the face of private military companies forever. It drastically affected the perception of such organizations, and they are now often placed in the role of the bad guy in any kind of media. And I'm not saying that that's bad or wrong. People who kill people for money are obviously going to be on the lower end of any moral compass, but it's quite a fascinating topic to talk about, and at some point I think I'd like to at length. Army of Two not only portrays SSC as the bad guys, but also portrays Salem and Rios, mercenaries, as the heroes. So this ending feels a bit strange. It's almost triumphant in a way that feels simultaneously on theme and also way off. I really don't think that Army of Two was trying to say anything with its story, and they just came up with something semi-interesting and wrote an ending that would allow for any kind of sequel. It's just really not that deep in this case.
Army of Two is solid. It's not anything groundbreaking, but lays a foundation with its unique mechanics, characters, and narrative that its sequels would take and build upon further. 8 out of 10.
Army of Two is really rough in some places, but very charming as a co-op shooter. I'd even argue that it's a must-play for anyone who likes co-op shooters at all. Overall, I think I'd give it about a 7 out of 10. It's really fun, but the plot is problematic in some places and kinda just service to the gameplay, which is frankly fine with me when the gameplay mechanics are as fun and interesting as they are. Army of Two: The 40th Day is a direct sequel to the previous game. It was released in 2010, a whopping 2 years after Gears of War 2, so you already know it was given a 7 out of 10 by most critics. 40th Day takes place in Shanghai as Salem and Rios are working for their own company, TWO, taking on a contract that's left especially vague.
Right off the bat, there are several improvements over the previous entry. You can manually switch shoulders now by clicking the right stick. Previously, you would have to push yourself up against a corner and wait a second while the camera recognized you were trying to look over the left side, and it was just a pain in the ass and awkward.
The cover system is far more visually consistent, with your character throwing himself into it with some particle effects, but it's very much still a soft cover system. Moving between and away from whatever cover you're on is really smooth and simple, and I'm stressing this for a reason.
Melee in the first game was tied to the right trigger, the same button you shot with, which made melee attacks very difficult. Thankfully now it's been rebounded to B, though confusingly the button you take hostages with is on left bumper, which is the same button used to give orders to the AI teammate.
The store system and weapon customization has been completely overhauled. Now you can use any parts from any purchased weapon of the same type, despite how cursed it may look. Suppressors return, as well as the new addition of sights, each of which can be equipped or removed so long as they were equipped in the store. This gives you even more options for high-low aggro cooperative strategy. Moving on, the duo place beacons as per their contract and are introduced to the morality system via a group of police. They're just kind of doing their jobs, so our companion JB grabs one and tells us to tie the other two down.
Tying down combatants and freeing hostages nets us small amounts of morality points. It's pretty much always worth sparing the people you can. The first real morality choice happens at the end of the first level, and this sort of sets the standard. You can shoot JB for a bonus, or let him go in return for nothing. More on this later.
Goddamn assassination missions. I thought we left all that behind.
Yeah. Well, what else could go wrong?
Shanghai is now under attack. Why? I don't know. And we won't ever know, I fear. Maybe it's explained in those voice logs you can collect, but fuck that. 40th Day subverts the established formula enough to keep things fresh, and one of those instances shows up here, where a wall boost causes the players to separate, with one having to cover the other to cross a chasm in a building.
This is something that happens fairly often, and sometimes it's completely up to the players if they want to separate in order to cover a wider area.
Alice is being held captive in the African consulate, so naturally, you go and rescue her. Afterwards, she begins to work on extract while Salem and Rios head towards a safe house.
For the entire duration of this section after rescuing her, she actually becomes a companion who is really competent. She can pick up guns and even heal downed players. It's fun and something the game only does one other time.
There it is! Get on the platform and I'll work on the controls. Once you're on the ground, I'll find a place to bunker down and contact you when I can.
This is where the first of two back-to-back sections happen. Back-to-back in this game is far more interesting with how it's implemented. Army of 2 almost felt obligated to have a B2B section in every level because they didn't know what else to do with it. Whereas 40th Day instead uses it during pivotal moments where the players are in an overwhelming situation.
The set pieces are also just far more interesting in the 40th Day. While there were a lot of back-to-back sections in the first game, every single one was kind of just a normal arena you've already fought in, where enemies pour out from nowhere like a badly designed Left 4 Dead 2 map. 40th Day has a significantly lower number of back-to-back sequences, but they are placed perfectly. Descending into a construction site swarming with enemies via a fucking crane is far more interesting from both a gameplay and a visual standpoint. Down on street level finally, the duo makes their way to the zoo. The Keeper lets them through in return for assistance clearing out the mercenaries sweeping through there.
Overall, it's an unremarkable level. It's the same gameplay as it always has been, but the one thing that stands out is the zookeeper. He has a monologue about morality and making decisions, and it's overall just the game telling the player about the basic thesis of the game. Who are you when nobody will hold you responsible?
Dumbo!
Follow the stairs on the left. I'll open the trap gate. My poor grandfather, forced to shovel shit for the Japanese during the occupation. Then to shovel more shit when the Russians came and the Japanese fled.
What's this guy's deal? No idea.
When the Russians reached the border, the Japanese panicked and ordered all the dangerous animals destroyed. It may seem rational to us now, but war does strange things to a person's logic. My grandfather was ordered to shoot elephants. Can you imagine how many bullets it takes to bring down an elephant? But the Japanese believed these animals would endanger the local populace, so although they tortured my grandfather by ordering him to shoot them, perhaps they did it with the best of intentions.
You think we can trust this guy?
Not for a second.
Where the hell is he taking us?
Oh, my poor grandfather. Such a dilemma. To follow orders and shoot animals you spent your whole life protecting, or risk being shot yourself. Such key decisions only occur a few times in a life, and I believe choosing to remain at my post here, despite the catastrophe, is one such decision. Can you say you've been as true
If I could get at this guy, the choice between listening to this crap and breaking his jaw would be an easy one.
If you take the morality system and this monologue at face value, it comes off as kinda tacky, an 8th grader's idea of tough moral decisions. But that's kinda why I like to look at it as instead asking you, who are Salem and Rios when nobody's watching? While the players control Salem and Rios and make the ultimate decision of what they do, either of these paths is fully in character for them. They're mercenaries. They kill people for money. In the moment, these decisions might seem arbitrarily binary, but very few of these choices tend to matter in the end. JB dies anyways, the security guard sells the guns to criminals, the tiger escapes and mauls a looter. There's always more to the story though. Killing JB might not mean much to you, but the security guard has kids who need him. The tiger is the last of its species. But in return for these bad morality choices, you're oftentimes given access to short-term rewards, such as weapons, money, or even gun parts. All things that make getting through this game slightly easier. On your way to the safe zone, Salem takes a really nasty fall, and Rios presumably takes him towards the main area of the level, that being a hospital.
Whoa, careful, Salem, this ain't too solid.
That's fine, look. Solid Shanghai construction. Oh, shit. Oh, man, I'm gonna go ahead and not get up from this one, Rios.
Hang on!
The invading force is holding the city hostage and threatening wholesale slaughter should any outside army breach their roadblocks. But as of yet, they have made no demands of the UN and have not contacted Beijing.
Good. You're up and moving. Come with me. Most of Shanghai is trapped. We're the last functioning hospital inside the barricades, and we've been under constant attack.
We're used to it.
I don't like mercenaries. I don't like what you do or why you do it. But I require your help. I saved your lives. Now you will help me save many more.
What can we do?
Get our backup generators running. Then hold off the invaders until we can evacuate the hospital. I'll be guiding you by radio.
Yeah, listen, pal. We don't really have a dog in this fight. We just want to get the hell out of Shanghai.
We'll do it. But only if you get us out of town once your people are safe.
It's a deal. My name is Wu.
This is the first, and I believe the only time you are judged for your morality choices.
If you've picked all 3 good options, you gain access to the armory, where you will unlock a new sidearm. Otherwise, you are denied access to this gun. This showcases that Army of 2 really wants you to play through it multiple times. Even the first game rewarded you for completing multiple playthroughs by permanently unlocking weapons, depending on the difficulty you finish it on.
Along the way to the generator room, you meet a kid. He promises to lead you to your objective, so you bring him along, at least so he can get to safety.
While following the boy, you find your way to the basement, where you meet Pyro TF2. This is the final variant of the big guys, as we call them. Big hulking enemies who take some cooperation to take down normally.
In the first game, they were pretty bland. Guys with machine guns that could only be damaged from behind. But keeping with the trend of improving upon its predecessor, 40th Day introduces 4 different big guy variants.
Shotgun guys are the outliers of the bunch. Their helmets can be shot off to deal extra damage, and their body armor is fully penetrable, meaning they are effectively bullet sponges if you don't aim for the weak points.
The Gunner, Grenadier, and Pyro all work very differently though, each having a specific weak point where they are vulnerable while the rest of their body is completely immune to damage. While functionally these serve the same purpose that the single enemy type from the first game do, they feel so much different when in actual play. Gunners make good cover scarce. Flamethrowers obscure things visually and deal damage over time. And finally, the Grenadiers coat the field in grenades, making advancing near impossible.
These variants really help spice up the gameplay and keep things fresh, while keeping the gameplay cooperative and tactical. During your fight back towards the main wing of the hospital, you have an option to allow the kid to take up a sniper rifle and help fight the enemy across the road. Accepting the offer will have him help, as well as unlock the only 50 cal in the game. However, the boy will die, leaving his parents to mourn their child after the attack on Shanghai ends.
Keeping the boy hidden and leading him back to the doctor shows that his parents were being held hostage, and he rescues them with a gun he hid away. Now, once you get back to reception, this is where the game starts to take a turn for the difficult. The fight in the lobby is pretty brutal due to the single viable piece of cover being the desk. This is also the last time the game looks in any way normal, since the moment you leave the hospital, the art direction changes drastically.
Entering the streets for the first time in 24 hours, and the city looks drastically different. All the fires have been put out, leaving only ash and rubble. This deep gray palette beautifully contrasts with the bright red leaflets and uniforms that sweep across the levels now. It's a far cry from the first few levels. 40th Day's constant contrast and art style really makes it stand out. The gritty, realistic military shooter transitioning to comics to showcase the consequences of your actions is something that really stood out when playing. These themes might seem out of place, but with the context that there was a comic made to fill the gaps between the first two games, these cutscenes suddenly fit into place a lot more.
The duo is directed towards the mall in an attempt to find a way out. At some point between Salem's loss of consciousness and entering Shanghai's streets again, contact with Alice has been lost or spotty at best. It's unclear.
The two tell Alice where they are headed, and she almost immediately transmits what seemed to be a warning.
Good to hear your voice, Alice.
Where are you headed?
We got a lead on the way out, a shopping mall up ahead.
Chief, the old Penrith Mall. It's for demolition. I'd be careful, maybe.
Alice, you there? Alice! Damn it.
This level is brutal. The fight to the mall is full of tight alleys, heavy enemy presence, and virtually no cover. Arguably the hardest part of this game for us was getting through these streets.
Despite not being mandatory, there's a lot of areas for the two of you to get split up, making reviving each other nearly impossible if you go down in a bad spot.
This is probably my favorite level in the game because of all of this. It's here where the difficulty spikes and cooperation becomes really quite tactical. In comparison to Army of Two, you would think 40th Day's more compact approach to level design would detract from that aspect, but it benefits greatly from it. The careful placement of, quote, good cover, unquote, and the truly brutal accuracy and damage of enemies makes moving up and flanking enemies something that has to be very carefully considered.
Finally making it towards the mall, and you already can tell how wrong this adventure is about to go. The face of the mall is covered in flags and banners, denoting that this is clearly an enemy stronghold.
We need to get across that ditch and in the mall.
In the mall? You see the size of that propaganda poster?
It's getting too hot down here. We need cover. I'll start this bulldozer and we can follow it in.
Jesus. Whatever you say, man.
The duo decides that getting into the mall is better than staying outdoors, and it's here where we actually notice something. A small detail is pretty interesting. Each line that functions as an objective notifier actually has two variants, one for Rios to yell it out, as you just heard, and one for Salem, which is pretty neat. As any playthrough, you could have Salem or Rios offering up the same plan, but with different lines suiting them. Just a cool attention to detail.
This is not good. We need to get across that gap.
Any bright ideas?
The brightest. Turn that dozer on and follow the sucker straight through the mall.
Works for me.
Once you make it out front of the mall, you're forced into the second and final back-to-back section, and this one is my favorite in the entire series. Outside of a major stronghold, you are naturally surrounded by the enemy and eventually overwhelmed. For the first time in Army of Two, back-to-back is interrupted by an enemy RPG and the duo is captured.
The players are split up, held in cages on entirely opposite areas of the mall. This is something games like to do a lot when it comes to co-op play. It's a nice subversion of the norm, but even when separated in Army 2, you're always within sightlines of your partner. Not here.
Rios is easily able to break out when a guard steps too close, and he frantically fights with nothing but a pencil. John Wick? Rios is easily able to break out when a guard steps too close, and he frantically fights with nothing but a pistol towards any way to rendezvous with Salem. But before he can reach him, a new character arrives to assist Salem.
Ronyoy, get over here. I have something important to share. Cool it, amigo. Not looking to make friends. Comedian, yeah? I am Spanish man. Amigo. Good. We will get along.
Who the hell are you, man? Where's Rios?
You and the big man are very close, yeah? Name is Brezhnev. Your friend is on the other side of the complex. I will lead you to him. Ah, shit.
Salem and Rios, completely separated from one another, eventually fight their way back to each other, meeting up in the middle.
It's a really cool section that continues to shake things up after the brutality shown earlier in the level.
There is gear.
How'd you get caught up in this, Brezhnev?
Was working for Big Boss Man. Got bored. Now working for myself.
Big Boss Man?
Jonah. He is job and a lunatic. Full of big talk about community and freedom of choice. And he pay not too shabby. But most he just want to kill the weak. I start thinking he not so much Marx. Lot more Lenin.
Let's just get the hell out of here.
The duo gets their gear back and destroys the main radio relay in the mall, before moving onwards to the docks. But before the duo can leave, they are faced with a choice. Brezhnev opens a closet where a woman is being held. He's clearly been abusing and violating her. He offers the duo money to leave instead of doing anything.
Wait, are we seriously gonna let this happen?
What's the deal, Brezhnev?
It's none of your business. Go now, before I stop liking you.
I don't know if we can do that.
All of a sudden, you are men of conscience? Shame. Well, let me help you a little. I give you cash to walk away. Easy money.
This was literally the easiest decision we have ever made.
God damn it!
Don't worry. Nobody's that good a shot.
Yeah, ha. I'm not gonna be laughing about 3 pints of blood from now. I'd say we're about even. Let's see if she's a better aim.
If you let the woman get revenge, it turns out she was an assassin sent to kill Brezhnev and his wife for defecting. This is the only consequence that feels kind of tone-deaf. If you let her shoot him, yeah, she murders an unarmed woman and almost a child later. But what, I'm supposed to give a shit? I shot a rapist and I'm supposed to feel at all like that caused the death of a mother. Like, no girl, that was your choice.
They really didn't have to imply what they did with that. It does almost feel disingenuous towards victims, like, oh yeah, this woman who is literally a victim goes on to kill innocent people. Doesn't that make you feel like this decision was deeply complex? I am very smart. And instead, it feels like I'm supposed to not shoot a rapist. 100 times out of 100, I'm shooting the rapist. The victim can do whatever they want, even if it's evil like killing a baby, because you know what? We support women's wrongs.
We beat each of these games in one sitting, so by the time we hit the docks, we were absolutely exhausted, which helps us get a feel for what Salem and Rios were no doubt feeling at this point. This level is far less significant than any other in the game. It's got some fantastic level design, and it's a blast to play, but there's really nothing here to talk about.
Well, with one exception. After shutting down and destroying various AA batteries, Alice shows up in an exfil chopper, and despite all our efforts, the helicopter is shot down and crashes into a nearby building, instantly killing Alice and the pilot.
God fucking damn it, it just never ends, huh? It never does.
Ah, shit! It never ends! Let's push to the end of the boardwalk and find some breathing room.
Yep, our handler throughout the past 2 games, who was nearly always there to support and assist us, dies, off-screen, in a cutscene. And it isn't even fully confirmed until the 3rd game. This is probably my only complaint with this game. I just genuinely cannot believe they killed Alice Murray, my goat, off-screen. Huge bummer.
Stuck without any support, the duo decide to get revenge.
That's it then. Always figured we'd end up going out big, not holed up in some rat's nest next to a river. I guess we're lucky we got as far as we did. Salem.
I want to kill him.
Kill who?
Jonah. I just need one clean shot at him.
Then let's do it.
This is it, the final level. This one really puts you to the test. The level design splits you up almost immediately, and once reunited, you have to fight in open areas with some really tough enemy spawn locations. Fighting your way through, Jonah finally grazes your ears as he begins to speak to you over loudspeakers.
Jonah has clearly been built up as a total nutjob, an idealist with an army that is practically a cult. His motives are never shown in plain text, and you know what? I don't think Salem or Rios would even care. Nothing justifies the attack of a civilian city and a murder of millions, but at this point, the duo only care about killing Jonah.
While the level is tough, the final encounter is the most difficult challenge the game has to offer. It's not a boss fight or anything special. Rather, it's just a single door, facing a wide and a long staircase stacked to the brim with enemies and emplacements.
Fighting up this took us over an hour, and almost 10 minutes straight on our final and successful attempt.
I do almost prefer this to a boss fight though. With the tactical nature of this game, having the final challenge be a test of strategy instead of a battle of attrition is very much welcome.
The morality system does affect one last thing here in this level. Depending on your morality and how many civilians you were able to rescue, the people of Shanghai will actually come and assist you during this level. We weren't able to see this on our first playthrough, but on a second playthrough, we were able to see this in action. Although it didn't ease the difficulty at all, it was still neat.
Rather than summarizing the final cutscene, I'll just go ahead and play it in full here, since I believe this is the strongest way that 40th Day could possibly end itself.
Wait. This is the detonator for a nuclear bomb, located in the heart of that city. I let go and 7 million people die. Bullshit! Shoot me then. I wonder if you'd be such a tough mercenary with the blood of 7 million lives on your hands.
Salem.
So what now?
Have you noticed the way people have been behaving in this society that we live in? Animals. All of them. Take away the shell of government, these laws, and people are nothing but beasts. Completely selfish and infinitely ignorant.
What the hell are you talking about?
I'm talking about honor. Sacrifice. Something you would know nothing about. I release this trigger and 7 million people die. Unless I give the order, my men continue to execute civilians. You have no power. But if one of you is willing to show me sacrifice, I will order my men to pull out. We will leave, and I will disarm this bomb.
What sacrifice? What are you talking about?
If one of you has the will to shoot the other, sacrifice your partner for the greater good, I will do as I said. Kill your partner. Kill your friend, and all this ends.
You're out of your mind.
You have 10 seconds. 10 seconds or I make the decision for you.
There's two options here. Let's start with the one that's considered canon. You can shoot your partner. In this case, Rios shoots Salem, and in return, Jonah gives the order to pull out of Shanghai.
Give the order!
I am a man of my word.
Jonah is shot, and Salem is left dying as the UN arrives in Shanghai and offers aid to the citizens. Rios catches a ride out of Shanghai on a chopper, completely alone. His partner's dead, and Shanghai saved.
The other option is to just shoot Jonah. And much like every decision in the game, it's almost meaningless. There is no bomb. Jonah was either lying or the bomb was a dud. But it's this lack of agency that I think really hammers home the rest of these choices. I don't know if they really thought each of these decisions was deep and meaningful, but this one is the most interesting. One of these choices asks you to betray your partner, to, from your perspective, save the city, or call Jonah's bluff.
Both these decisions affect the morality stat, although at this point it's irrelevant. You get nothing for doing the right thing, except every choice in this game is like that actually. Why do you care about JB? He dies anyway. Why do you care about the security guard? You need those weapons. Why should we do the right thing when we get next to nothing for it?
Now, it took me almost a month of reflection, but I think I finally understand the 40th day. The game. And I think I also finally understand Jonah. Jonah is wearing a jacket which implies that he is a veteran, possibly even of the Vietnam War. He's clearly bitter of the things he did, the sacrifices he made, which is why he demands that you make a sacrifice yourself. You see, Jonah believes that in a war zone, people are animals, and without rules, they devolve into beasts, and the weakest of them are cold.
Jonah and his army are also direct references to the Bible. Jonah himself is named after a prophet, and the name of his army, the 40th day, is possibly a reference to Noah's Ark and the apocalyptic flood in the story that cleanses the earth. I don't think this is the devs saying anything in a meta way, it's more so flavor that adds to the character of Jonah and the events of the game.
The morality system seems utterly out of place at a first glance. Other than the replayability it provides via certain rewards, the game would feel identical without these choices. But the game needs them, because while Jonah doesn't taunt you via radio throughout the entire game, the morality system and the decision segments perform the same function that a Pagan Min radio call would, for example. This system, that seems completely arbitrary on the surface, is Jonah exerting his influence and his ideology directly onto the players and their characters. The morality system isn't just do the right thing versus do the wrong thing, but for money. It's much more about Jonah, and whether or not you prove him right. Is Jonah right about people? Do you become an animal without rules to follow? Conceptually, this is probably the best way I've ever seen a morality system used as a thematic device. 40th Day doesn't just tell you what the villain's ideology is, in fact, it refuses to, right up until the end. 40th Day makes you experience it. Now, there's a reason Rios shooting Salem is considered canon here, and it's because of Rios as a character. He consistently chooses morals over money.
Out of here. I'll pay you whatever you want.
I don't want your money. I want you to help us clear our names.
I have copies of the evidence spread out on 4 servers in the archive room. You can upload it, but hurry. Dalton's up there trying to destroy everything.
Okay, and one more thing. If you're involved in this shit in any way, you need to turn yourself in. Friends of ours have been killed.
I will. Just get me out of here.
Okay. We'll take care of Dalton and be back for you.
Idiot! Stockwell was offering to give us money and you were like, no, just do the right thing. Since when are you such a goddamn Boy Scout?
He said he was gonna turn himself in. That's what matters.
Like he's really gonna do that. That guy will be in Venezuela by sunrise.
He's refused large sums of money in return for someone doing the right thing, and he almost always has been the moral compass of the two, asking what is truly right. Rios, despite all his wisdom, couldn't call that bluff in the end, and so he decided to shoot Salem despite everything.
Basically, each of these morality choices is just do the right thing or Salem's idea. And it does fit the characters really well. The consequences don't matter at all to us. The real interesting thing is how the characters' moral gray positions as hired guns makes these decisions really shine when given to them.
The 40th Day is probably the best one in the trilogy. It's got massive improvements from the core gameplay of the previous entry. Its narrative basically never interrupts the gameplay, always being something experienced rather than watched. It's also just far more interesting than the previous game. You don't really know what the 40th Day is doing until the end of the game, and even then it's left unclear, which makes them quite compelling as an antagonistic force. In fact, the way that we don't even see Jonah until the very end is something that I like a lot. Salem and Rios couldn't care less about him until his forces destroyed their only way out of the city. The art direction is really good, not just in the design of the levels, but also with how it shows the aftermath of the morality choices in a graphic novel style, which breaks up the pace just enough between combat encounters. The 40th Day has only 7 missions, but each contains take up to an hour on harder difficulties. The 40th Day is actually my favorite entry for its difficulties, since each Army of Two game increases the stakes and difficulty with each new level. The 40th Day, however, has the most intense spikes of difficulty due to its level design. Where Army of Two had wide open levels that made traversal difficult for the players, 40th Day instead opts for more compact, tightly built levels, which often offer more cover, but later on mean that movement and safe cover is incredibly limited, making for some incredibly tactical gameplay. I think I have to give it a 10 out of 10. I love this game so much. It's not perfect by any means, but I do believe it's a masterpiece of co-op game design.
The 40th Day is my favorite game from the Army of Two series for one reason in particular: the art direction. The contrasting colors of the streets leading to the mall, the raging fire that fills the environment with reds and oranges while the buildings collapse. The color grading and level design made combat encounters engaging, and during little downtime you can get, there was always interesting details to pick out from the environment. Everything being more stylized really provided opportunities for the game to make the players feel like invincible protagonists. But it was quite the opposite, with Salem and Rios being completely overwhelmed and at the mercy of Jonah and his army. This game is one of the best cover shooters I've ever played, and as far as Army of Two games go, the 40th Day is the best in the trilogy, and sets the bar high for any sequels or reboots. This is what I've come to expect when picking up any new cover shooters. It's a perfect blueprint for future Army of Two games and co-op shooters alike. It took the potential of Army of Two and multiplied it by a tight billion. 10 out of 10.
Army of Two: The Devil's Cartel is the third and final game in the series. Coming out in 2013, it was hit with the worst reviews in the franchise from both fans and critics alike, and for good reason. Army of Two: The Devil's Cartel changes several core aspects of the previous two games and dumbs them down for absolutely no reason.
Army of Two: The Devil's Cartel is not a good Army of Two game. It's hardly even average. While playing the tutorial, it immediately felt like something was off. First of all, the split screens were separated, which was uncomfortable to look at, and felt subconsciously separating as a co-op experience. The cover system was much harder than previous entries and felt really sticky. The UI felt incredibly intrusive, and last but not least, the aggro meter was nowhere to be found.
While the aggro meter is non-existent, the feature itself hasn't been fully removed. You can still draw aggro, and each weapon has stats relating to aggro, but you really cannot tell when one player is drawing more aggro over the other, at least not without using TWO vision.
Viewing the aggro state of an enemy in TWO vision is so bad. To see if enemies are aggroed on you, you have to enable 2 vision, aim down at a specific enemy, and then you see if they are focused on you. But at that point, your 2 vision runs out, rendering the information useless. It's so tedious and useless to tactically utilize the main draw of the series. If you aim down at a person just to see if they are focused on you or your partner, at that point, it's just better to shoot them.
This also isn't even talking about the fact that the TWO vision is just a worse version of the 40th Day GPS. 40th Day actually marked enemies with a little pointy down arrow, which made them slightly easier to see in the monochrome overlay. When you actually spotted the enemies, their whole body would glow and you would be able to see it through objects, which allowed you to actually reliably point out specific enemies to your partner. In the Devil's Cartel, all we get is this big, bulky piece of shit UI element that literally blocks the view of the enemy that you have marked. The new characters have a unique boost animation, which is kinda cool to see as a detail, but mechanically the boost is significantly more dumbed down. In previous games, either player could initiate the boost, and when it was a separation boost, the decision of who was on what side of that separation set piece was completely natural and intuitive.
However, in the Devil's Cartel, the game consistently asks players to use the D-pad to pick which path they want to take, which just feels so much less intuitive and almost like the game is babying the player.
There are instances where a step jump and pull-up is required for progression, as well as step jumps where the separation is more natural, like previous games. However, they're very rarely used over the D-pad version.
Not to mention, the game also separates the players near constantly, which really hurts the idea of a cooperative experience. Overkill returns in this game, but it feels kind of like an I win button, since you gain invincibility and your bullets literally explode on impact. No doubt about it, it's fun as hell, but it really trivializes things since both players have overkill meters that can be activated separately, and the overkill functions identically with no regard for aggro, unlike the first game.
Overkill in the first game was a tactical decision. It allowed one player to deal more damage while the other could slip behind enemies, but the player with high aggro wasn't invincible, so it had to be used strategically or it would end prematurely when the aggro player went down.
Once again, the mechanic just feels incredibly dumbed down for the sake of looking cool.
A side effect of using overkill is that most cover becomes completely unusable in this game. This is because the Devil's Cartel introduces destructible cover. While 40th Day had some destruction to certain pieces of cover, it's literally everywhere in Devil's Cartel. I don't think this is bad. In fact, cover degrading makes for more tactically interesting gameplay, but it's not supported by the rest of the mechanics, as the Devil's Cartel feels so much faster paced and less cooperative, so overall I feel that it makes the experience a bit more frustrating rather than engaging.
The revive is way too easy in this game. If a partner goes down in a bad spot, it's very easy to run out, heal them, and then run back. Due to the lack of a drag mechanic and the speed of the revive, it feels completely antithetical to the original design, where going down was heavily punished and exposed not just you but also your partner, and made recovering from that state significantly more difficult.
Going down in previous games also felt like a team effort to get back into the fight. The downed could still fight to some extent and cover their rescuer, but at the same time, the rescuer had to path to safe cover to successfully revive the downed player.
Another serious thing that's missing is the back-to-back sections. Instead, they've been traded for railroady action set pieces, which, while fun, more on that later, aren't nearly as cool, interesting, or unique as the back-to-back set pieces from previous games.
Finally, wrapping up with minor annoyances, temporary weapons don't make a return from 40th Day, where you could just grab an enemy weapon without replacing one of your own, and use it disposably to draw aggro or get a few kills without using any of your own ammo.
The GPS was a feature in both previous games, which directed you through the level in case you got lost. In the Devil's Cartel, the navigation waypoints aren't an optional thing. They are big, they are bright, and oftentimes obscure enemy positions due to their location on screen.
And last, but certainly not least, there are no camaraderie buttons. In previous entries, if you pressed the interact or melee buttons, you could express positivity or displeasure with your co-op partner. It was a small thing, but much like everything in this series, it really gave it a sense of identity and, well, camaraderie between players. While there's not much that we do like about this game, there are a few things we want to bring up.
There's a few quality of life improvements that made co-op play a bit nicer. For example, the ability for both players to shop at the same time was really nice, even if it caused the game to crash a few times.
And a detail that I really appreciated was that whatever customizations your weapons had is accurately depicted in cutscenes, with characters using foregrips and whatnot. Moving on, the set pieces in this game are actually really great. Despite the fact that Army of Two has always been a gameplay-first series, even and especially with their cool set pieces, I do appreciate that the Devil's Cartel shakes it up a bit.
One player driving a truck through the streets while the other shoots was a very fun change of pace.
And likewise, there was a section that put you in the dark catacombs where only one player had a light and had to shine the way. While the armored truck set piece felt less inspired, mostly just being a point-and-shoot set piece, any set piece involving a helicopter was really cool. The one on top of the factory where you split up and one player covers the other with the minigun rocked, as well as the one in the quarry where the player on the ground got a grenade launcher.
There was a third helicopter set piece that was really cool as well, where one player has a grenade launcher and the other one is on the minigun, while you're chasing down a convoy who's holding a character hostage. Midway through, you switch places and it's animated so well with each character feeling really in sync.
See, the frustrating thing about this game is that it is truly terrible, and yet, in some moments, you can really see the DNA of Army of Two shine through all the shit. But despite that, it lacks all of the identity that an Army of Two game really needs. Finally, we come to the new characters. I know that on release a lot of folks really hated Alpha and Bravo, and at the start we did too. Alpha was boring, and Bravo was frankly quite cringe. But the more we played, the more they started to grow on us. I think, like a lot of things in this game, they are simply victims of bad writing. Their dynamic is almost identical to Salem and Rios's. They just weren't given enough room to explore or develop that dynamic. Their conversation was often only about the mission. It felt all business all the time, which, while fitting for Alpha's no-nonsense personality, doesn't make for good co-op banter. But when they start chatting about their personal lives, their girlfriend, or their dream of a boat, it really makes them feel more personable, and it was a step in the right direction. Unfortunately, those moments are fleeting. In moments of great relief or stress, Alpha lets his walls down, showing that he does actually like Bravo despite how much they seem to clash personality-wise. They both work really hard to keep each other's spirits up, and it's pretty good. It's just not as good as Salem and Rios. But it's not Alpha and Bravo's fault. Don't blame them. They did the best with what they were given, and you know what? I kinda love them for that.
What are the chances Fiona'll still be there when we get to the quarry?
I don't know. I'm trying to stay optimistic.
Like your whole having a family thing?
Yeah, something like that.
After a day like this, I could use some optimism.
Just think about that dumbass boat of yours. You'll be fine. Almost there. Look sharp.
For fuck's sake!
Cartel incoming! Take cover in that building!
You better get us the hell out of here!
I'm working on it! Alpha, to whoever's listening, we need a chopper at the quarry outside of town.
Look for the big goddamn gunfight.
That area's hot as hell, Alpha.
Do not leave us down here!
Looks like it's just us, partner.
Fuck them all. Fish in a barrel down here!
Take out the targets on the ledges. Worry about the rest later.
Clear! Hey, man! If you get out of this alive, hang this shit up! Go have your family!
But we're both getting out of this one, partner.
Yeah, right.
Hey, stow that attitude, soldier. That's no way for a boat captain to act.
I think it was ultimately this moment in the quarry that made us really actually like these characters, and I'm realizing now that it is for one specific reason. It is the camaraderie shown between them, which was absent throughout most of the rest of the game. Not just, in terms of the camaraderie buttons and the mechanic, but just a lot of their dialogue didn't feel as brother-in-armsy as Salem and Rios's did in the first two games. And this section in the quarry just really leaned into that, and I thought that it was really nice. And now, for arguably the most disappointing part of this game, the plot. The game introduces us to our new protagonists, A and B. Sorry, I mean Alpha and Bravo. The game quickly flashes back to a few years before the current cutscene where the new pair of mercs is working with Salem and Rios. Canonically, this game takes place after 40th Day. Salem was shot in order to save Shanghai, but in a light retcon, he survives and continues working with TWO.
During the mission, they discover the woman they are trying to save is dead. Rios opts to rescue the surviving woman, and Salem begins to whine about being in danger. Despite every game prior to this characterizing Salem as fiercely loyal to Rios, even when he disagrees with Rios' moral decision, Salem opts to abandon his teammates and attempts to escape without securing a way out for anyone else. During this escape attempt, he climbs into a truck which gets hit by an RPG and traps him. So already, Salem is written to be completely out of character, and also incredibly stupid, which, while characterized as impulsive previously, he was never shown to be this dumb.
Rather than actually climb in and pull his partner out, Rios stands outside, looking away from the car like a dipshit, becoming injured when it blows up. You could argue that he was keeping a lookout for enemies while checking on Salem, but there are two other people there to pull security for him. So it's just a terribly written excuse for Rios to get injured and leave Salem behind. And it just resulted in an incredibly contrived plot thread.
Fast forward to the present, and the new pair of protagonists get attacked and their VIP is kidnapped. So they go on a long-ass boring journey to find him and run into some dipshit in a mask called Diablo. Ooh, how scary. The duo gets kidnapped at some point, and who would have known? It's Salem!
So yeah, Salem's alive and evil and he hates TWO for abandoning him, and it sucks so much ass. Salem's not inherently bad as a villain, as he's always been the selfish of the pair, and I could see him doing more evil shit for a better lot in life. But at the same time, the circumstances surrounding his turn just fucking suck.
TWO tracks Salem to a cartel compound where him and the cartel boss are holed up. The pair clear a way for Rios, and eventually the three find Salem, who is holding Fiona hostage. Fiona was the woman we saved during the prologue mission where Salem was left for dead, but the only purpose she really serves at this point is to get shot to make Salem even more evil.
Salem also shoots Rios before fleeing, and despite how adamant Rios has been about capturing Salem, he turns on a dime and asks the new duo to kill Salem. This almost feels out of left field, but personally I feel like it's a symptom of how unbelievably terrible the writing is. Salem has been mischaracterized so badly at this point that even Rios has given up on him. He is literally not even the same character that Rios fought beside for the past two games. This is not the same character that we spent 2 games falling in love with. This is not the army of 2 that we love, and that's truly the biggest issue I have with this game. If the gameplay was good, but the story was lackluster, the game would be great. Look at 40th Day. But the gameplay sucks, and the story is trying way too hard to be subversive, and it mischaracterized one of the main draws to the game in order to do it. The duo takes Salem alive after a boss battle, with no input from the player, by the way. The new Army of Two says some sequel bait shit, and right before the credits we are shown Elliot Salem's cell being opened by a mysterious figure. All of which sets up absolutely nothing since this game killed the franchise.
Salem being evil could have made more sense if set up properly. Since we know Salem is impulsive and doesn't care about doing the morally correct thing as much as Rios does, Salem could have had opportunities to be separated from Rios and paid off since his partner isn't around to keep him in check. It's a loose characterization, but better than what we have.
I believe that the near constant barrage of bad writing is primarily a symptom of 40th Day's ending. As I've stated before, I believe that the only true ending that makes sense is Rios shooting Salem, but as a writer, how do you write any story after that? If I was to make another Army of Two games, there are two options. Either set it before 40th Day and keep it as the finale of the franchise, or write the loss of trust between the duo better. Let me lay out my idea for a simple rewrite of a third Army of Two game. Just completely retcon Devil's Cartel and start over. After Shanghai, Salem wasn't fully able to trust Rios again, and they agreed to go their separate ways. Years later, TWO is a very successful company. Maybe introduce a new pair of characters like Alpha and Bravo, or instead I'll use their last names, which do exist by the way. Miller and Ramirez. Miller and Ramirez are deployed to Eastern Europe to meet with a contact who turns out to be Salem. He needs TWO's help to get back at a warlord who betrayed him. The warlord escapes, and after the failed mission, Miller and Ramirez call an evac while Salem continues on his hunt for revenge. Their evac chopper is shot down and their communication with HQ is cut off. Salem offers the duo extract if they complete their contract with him, so they continue to follow his lead. The trio follows the warlord into a huge city where he's being protected by local gangs. The fighting gets so intense that local military gets involved. The city in chaos with fights between the protagonists, gangs, and the military creates an opening for the trio to finally kill the warlord. Salem pays Miller and Ramirez with cash stolen from the warlord, and they all part ways. Maybe years later, Salem can come back to TWO and rekindle his relationship with Rios. Alright, what do you think about, the Devil's Cartel overall?
Bad game!
I'm gonna give the Devil's Cartel a 4 out of 10. I think that if the plot was good, we could overlook the massive downgrade in gameplay, and if the gameplay was good, we might be able to overlook the dogshit story. But since both aspects feel like massive downgrades from previous entries, the whole experience just falls flat. It's funny, I'd consider the Devil's Cartel the worst story in the franchise, and that's taking into consideration that the first game had borderline war on terror propaganda, and the second game had almost nothing going for it in terms of plot. The Devil's Cartel is not a bad cover shooter, just an incredibly bad Army of Two game, and it's no surprise that it killed the franchise.
This game is awful. Terrible. It's abominable. I hate this game. Not because of its gameplay, I think the gameplay is good actually. It felt a little more restrictive than other titles, but it was fun most of the time. Only, it didn't feel like an Army of Two game, which, when developing a sequel for a series like this, is a mistake you can't really make. Alpha and Bravo feel like invincible main characters, not just in the writing but in the gameplay too, which is something I praised the other titles for doing the exact fucking opposite of. On top of the changes made to the cover mechanic, they completely stripped down the most unique mechanic the series had to offer, and in the process destroyed its identity completely. 1 out of 10.
Unfortunately, Army of Two wasn't groundbreaking, but I don't think it had to be. It took the foundation that Gears of War built and then asked, how can you make cooperation in a shooter like this more interesting? And I think it answered that question by developing mechanics that haven't been seen in a game since. Every aspect of the first two Army of Two games is focused on cohesion with your partner, trading aggro between each other, wall boosts, etc. These games are significantly less enjoyable solo. It's one of the only games I can think of where cooperative play with another human being is almost required for the full experience. Now, I've played Gears of War and the Rainbow Six Vegas games, but absolutely nothing scratches that tactical co-op cover shooter itch like Army of Two does. Which is why it's so disheartening that the franchise is completely dead after the flop that was Devil's Cartel. Now, even though it's nigh impossible, I'm praying for a new Army of Two game. Whether it's a reboot or a true sequel to 40th Day, I really wouldn't mind either option. And the very top of my wish list for any revitalization of Army of Two is PC ports either using peer-to-peer or Steam servers. Now, we never brought this up in the main portion of the video, but each of these games had servers for PvP multiplayer online co-op, and, in the case of the second and third game, servers for custom masks. All of which have been taken down by now, as the franchise has been just completely left to rot by EA. And unfortunately, I think that's all I have to say on the matter. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day, evening, night, whatever. I don't know. Go ahead and drop a like and subscribe, and also support me on Patreon if you want. I don't know. I don't care. Bye.